very, very honored to be here comparing Southeast Asia. So it was just recently announced that the world has 3 billion internet users now, and about 48% of that is in Asia. So today's panel is on Southeast Asia, so we do have some parts of the population of the 48%. And even though you always say you may use population as an indication of the market size, but we all know that Asia, and also especially within Southeast Asia, it's not one market. It's very nuanced, there's a lot of differences. So today we have here 4 people, 4 experienced entrepreneurs, some of them investors, who have a lot of experience both in their own markets, as well as internationally, regionally, internationally. So yeah, we'll first start off by, let's go down the road a little bit. Oh, Tuan, you're first. We'll have each of them give you like a 20 seconds introduction of themselves and their background, yeah? Experience. Tuan, please. Just start.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, hi everyone. It's a pleasure to be back to Jakarta after 2 years. My name is Tuan. I run a EdTech online education startup in Vietnam. Not so much startup anymore. We are about 6 years old and 500 employees. And what we do is online platform for high quality degrees and online English tutoring. And we also happen to run the Founder Institute program for Vietnam and have been helping startups in Vietnam and the region.
Patai?
So I represent Thailand. My startup is called Bilk. We provide free cloud-based ERP for construction industry in Southeast Asia. We originally come from Bangkok. We have a venture with the Indonesian partner we call Bapindo, and we have a number of users all over Southeast Asia. And we are moving into the B2B construction material trade, which is a very big in this region. Construction industry is very big. And I was a 500 startups alumni, batch 7. And I'm representing as a president of Thailand Tech Startup Association. We also have association in Thailand.
Thank you, Patai. Bikash, please.
Hi, I run a program called Lead Accelerator, not 1337 or 1337.
It looks like 1337, yeah, by the way.
That's our freaking filtering mechanism. If you can't pronounce our name, we're not going to fund you, basically. So we look for Uber geeks, and we run an accelerator program. So you come in with a basic prototype, and within 3 months, we get you to the market, and the next 3 months, we try and get you subsequent funds. So our record has been investing about 50,000 ringgit into a company, and within 5 months, raising about 600,000 seed. So our aim is to get you the seed under 12 months itself. And
you also started a company before?
Yeah, so basically I train, we're here in Indonesia and throughout Southeast Asia. We license our content to people like Apple and Google. Our main goal is capacity development, trying to create more app developers in the country. So we do that all around Southeast Asia now.
Hi everyone, my name is Paul Rivera. I'm the founder and CEO of Caliber. We're building a LinkedIn for skills for the emerging markets. We came out of the Y Combinator program last year. Ended up raising $2 million from a Midyar network, Wavemaker partners down in Singapore, Kickstart in the Philippines, and I'm forgetting one other investor. That's pretty big.
Smart?
Smart? No, not Smart. Kickstart's the Globe one. What we do is we reverse engineer jobs, and we identify the skills, the behaviors, the traits, and knowledge that represent that job. And we make it easy for companies to assess talent. And on the other side, for candidates, we make it easy for them to understand their skills and what jobs they are best suited for. So we're building a B2B to C platform. And I started this company because I previously came back to the Philippines to start a call center. And that call center served Mint.com, TripAdvisor. Today it serves Lyft in the Philippines. And it was very difficult for me to hire talent at the volume and velocity that I wanted to. And I wanted to solve my own problem, and that's how Caliber was born.
Yeah, and don't be deceived by his American accent, right? You came back to Philippines when again?
2007.
Okay. So let's start it off. This year is a mini competition amongst the Southeast Asian countries. So I'm from Singapore. So even though I'm the moderator today, so I cannot speak and represent Singapore today. But let's go down the path a little bit. So this year, 2014, what has been the biggest story or stories in your respective countries? We can start with Paul.
Okay, so I just remember the fourth investor is the Omidyar Network. So the biggest story I would say this year is PLDT Group, which is a large telco in the Philippines, buying 10% of Rocket Internet for about $500 million. So they essentially bought their way into technology, into e-commerce. And I think the other startup stories were kind of dwarfed by that news story.
And that valued Rocket about 4.5 billion, right?
Yes, I think so.
So what is the significance of that, do you think? I mean, Rocket Internet is not a Filipino company.
Yeah, I think it kind of represents the uniqueness of the Philippines. When you look at the characteristics of the startups that have gotten funded there, they're typically founders that are 30 plus years in age. I'm 32. They typically are expats or balikbayans like me who have lived abroad for 20 years and have come back. And they're in the country to be an entrepreneur and to solve a problem. And so I think the PLDT and the Rocket deal kind of represents the Philippines, where it's a kind of like a bigger Singapore, where it's a meeting ground for people to do business and to solve problems there.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yeah.
Yeah, so for Malaysia, a few big things. One, it's a shared thing among Malaysia, Singapore with MyTaxi/Grab Taxi, raising a total of 90 million in total from beginning till Series C. So that's been big to say that Malaysians can build a scalable startup of that extent.
It is the biggest story, biggest funding round.
That's the biggest we've ever seen someone go itself from Malaysia. The next big thing was, which turned out to be not sort of big thing right now, MOL, the first Southeast Asia listing on NASDAQ, so that's a Malaysian company, having a little bit of things going on with them. Hopefully, Ganesh is a great guy, hopefully he pulls through, so we're all behind him, hoping something comes out of that now.
So for some context, MOL is a payments company.
Yeah, it's a payments company itself, so they basically have scratch cards and online payment gateways itself. So online payments are very new, the old school one was the biggest thing itself. And the other thing which quite recently came out was the Malaysian government is trying to make more funds out there itself. So MAVCAP and Axiata teamed up along with some other investors, but Axiata being the main one behind it, a huge telco, to put 100 million ringgit fund into the market itself. So that's
about 30 US?
That's 30 million US dollars itself. So that's been big, that's been a great push for a non-government based kind of fund that we've been looking for from a private sector push.
And just all into Malaysian companies?
Yeah, you got to be in Malaysia. So, you could be a foreigner coming in to set up in Malaysia. As long as you're based in Malaysia, then that's the funds for that.
And that's interesting. We'll pick up on that point later because the government aspect that you briefly mentioned, has been a huge force in Malaysia.
Huge.
Yeah, and Singapore, but we'll talk about Malaysia. But yeah, so let's go on to Pattaya for Thailand.
So big things in Thailand this year is we just got the government. Okay, we don't have government for years, but okay, this year we got
political,
government. Yeah, we got government. But for tech scenes, we have e-commerce, of course, a very good deal, and you learn more about e-commerce with Gwen tomorrow in the session. And we have UKB just raised the second round with total 9 million US dollar, and he becomes like one of the largest e-book store in Southeast Asia. So that is two big deals recently.
Okay, thank you. Tuan for Vietnam.
Couple of things for Vietnam. First is the Vin Group, which is the largest real estate group in Vietnam, and the founder is the first billionaire in the country. They just announced a large investment in e-commerce, so they started their own e-commerce division. Apparently, they are inspired by the stories of Alibaba and the likes. They started with 50 million, and then they announced 100 million, and now it's going at $200 million. So it seems like a very ambitious project. On the other end of the scale, there's a very exciting exit by a barely 2-year-old company, HiVR, which is a 9-gag, sharing your jokes kind of business model. They sold out for $1.5 million. Barely 2 years, and just one guy hacking away out of college.
Who acquired the company?
A online media company.
From Vietnam?
Yes. But unfortunately, the downside of the story is that the license for HiVR got revoked by the government. So it's still going on. government again, yes.
So let's pick up on that note, right? So we always talk about Southeast Asia, and when foreigners especially think about Southeast Asia, they're always like, oh, it's so complex there, government regulations, I have no idea what's happening there. So on that point, right, so on this high VL licensing thing, you know, Vietnam's infamous to some extent for having like changing rules and gray areas of law. So in your opinion, how has that affected or not affected the startups and investor scene?
My personal view is that as long as they don't try to help, then everything is fine. But apparently they just decided they want to help internet and startups. Well, help by regulating and filtering out the bad apples, which may be true to some extent, but also it's hurting a lot of other startups. So this kind of action, and they should have done it much earlier before people even get started, not after they exit and announce a lucrative deal. And seems like they're more eager to help now, which is a little concerning to me.
I think Patai, yesterday we were kind of talking a little bit about that as well, right? Kind of like you were saying that for next year.
Yeah, okay, because so far political instability in Thailand makes our government do nothing for Thai tech business or startup business for years. After we got the government, it seems like they just keep asking what the entrepreneur needs, and they're trying to adapt or changing the regulations to support Thai tech business. Because we see that the new entrepreneur, they want to incorporate a company in Singapore or Malaysia. It means the talent is going out of the countries. So government understand this, and they're trying to pull them back with the support regulations. They're trying to change. They set up the new country strategy as a digital economies will be launched big things next year, and they're trying to compete in terms of investment and changing some regulations for overseas investors to easier invest to Thai startups. Yeah.
And how has the market been receiving that kind of news?
I think it's just a hype maybe. So people think that the trends for last year, 2014, so we set up our association because we don't have government, so we talk about, hey, let's try to help each other by ourselves. We try to do it voluntary for years, but everybody is startups, so we have no time. So set up the formal entities and runs it officially should be better. So after that, the new startups is more younger and eager to grow into the regional level. So it's good things, and government may see this point and want to help us. Yeah.
And for Paul, Filipino government, any help or not help?
None. And I honestly feel that the Philippine government has bigger issues it should try to focus on, such as education, STEM education, and making sure that when the startup ecosystem really begins to flourish, there's enough supply of talented technical talent. I think two things are happening right now that are kind of replacing the government. One, you have companies like Ayala Corp, the oldest and largest conglomerate in the Philippines, supporting innovation through seed stage and early stage venture fund. And then on the other side, you have a company like Uber, which has successfully entered Manila, has a lot of rabid fans, and you have the taxi companies now complaining about Uber, and it's now that kind of the general population and the Philippine government are becoming aware of technology and its ability to be disruptive or be innovative. And it's going to be interesting to see how that battle plays out, because now you're seeing Uber on the front page of the newspapers there, and many Filipinos may have never heard it before, but I think it's going to be a situation that happens more and more in the future as more technology in the Philippines becomes mainstream.
I mean, to contrast that with Malaysia, the government has been involved in the startup scene and incentivizing investors for more than a decade now, right?
If I was to start naming the acronyms, it would be tomorrow.
That's true.
You name the acronym, we've got an agency for that. I mean, it's a good thing, it's a bad thing. We have no idea. We started with government with a top-down push from day one. the country has always been moving towards what you've heard about, the Vision 2020. So one of the biggest visions in that is to have a high-income nation. And one of the ways to create a high-income nation is to make sure that there's the whole entrepreneurial spirit. Because the main wealth in the country, if you look at Malaysia, 80% of the country is controlled by the old businesses itself. And these old Chinamen just need to die. If they don't die, they're not going to give people the salaries to make a high-income nation. So rather than wait for them to die or the kids to take over, we need to create new companies. So that's why there's been a push of every single vertical, from traditional businesses to high-tech startups to agriculture to race-based funding. We have it all. You name it, we have it itself. It's helped a lot of companies be created in the country, but it's also created a startup graveyard. So there is a funding gap, and that's where things like these new funds coming out from MavCap and even Cradle did some good stuff. They started doing what Singapore did, matching funds to get more private sector to come in. It's slowly trickling in. I think you're going to see a big change in the next couple of years in Malaysia in terms of private sector coming in, the funding gap being closed itself. Right now, there's still a big gap for seed funding.
Seed funding. So, because the definition of seed funds, Series A in the US and in Southeast Asia is very different. How will you define seed fund then?
I would say about 500,000 to pre-Series A. That means about $1 million market itself.
Okay.
So getting that early upfront, 50 to 150,000 ringgit, it's quite simple. A lot of people give you that money. And then Series A, a lot of VCs from all around the region comes to Malaysia and saying, hey, show me Series A stuff. But to get them from that pre-seed to with Series A ready, there's only one guy who's going to give you a check. It's called Cradle. You can't expect them to sign every fucker up, right? Sorry. So that is the issue right now.
So funding, that's something that we've heard, quite like littered around quite a bit around Southeast Asia. Do you see the same in your other countries as well?
Yeah, in Thailand, it's still the huge gap in the pre-seed round as well. And the Thai local investors, they are still reluctant to invest into the tech business because they have another choice of invest into real estate, into the
Malaysia is the same.
things.
When we talk to so-called angels, they'll ask you, what's the yield of your startup? Like their fucking apartment, right?
And they expect 30%, right?
Yeah, exactly. So if they can put your money into apartments and you get guaranteed returns
On
for them to come to the
nightlife
space.
pub or restaurant.
I would say in the Philippines, we've kind of solved that funding gap in the middle. You have Kickstart that's now writing bigger checks, 250 to 500K. You have IMJ writing bigger checks, and then you have SoftBank, who set up a $20 million fund, and their initial intention was to write $5 million checks. You can't do that in the Philippines right now, so they're looking to write $500K to $1 million checks in the Philippines. So I think in the Philippines we have a nice funding ecosystem all the way from the angel stage, seed stage, mid stage, and Series A is really regional and global.
Are there enough startups who can take advantage of all these, who can make proper use of the money?
No.
We'll send you some.
Yeah, you should. Manila's a nice place to live.
So if there's too much money running around in terms of the various stages, so how are investors looking for the returns?
I think they're going to have to be patient. The Philippine ecosystem is probably 2 to 3 years behind where Indonesia is right now. It really just kicked off in 2012, mid-2012, when Kickstart Ventures was started. So it's going to be another 2 to 3 years before you begin to see more mature startups that can take advantage of that funding. And I think what we need on the lower end at the early stages, not necessarily more money. There's plenty of money in the Philippines. It's time. Do you have experienced entrepreneurs, mentors who can advise these startups to take them from the idea stage to the startup stage to the monetization stage? So it's really, can we get the smartest people from all over the world, not just in the Philippines, helping these startups grow and really reach their full capacity?
This growing thing is something that also, Tuan, you do that with Founder Institute. You founded the Vietnam Founder Institute and you've been coaching the companies, right? So yeah, so on that and also like relating to the previous question regarding investments, how's that coming along?
Vietnam has been quite lucky in the sense that we have major funds coming in quite early, 10 years ago. So IDG Ventures and Cyber Agent. So we're quite lucky that Series A has been available for a while. There used to be a shortage of pre-seed, but now I see it's getting better because a lot of previous generation entrepreneurs, they are making smaller exits and they're going back and they sweet spot it exactly the pre-seed. So they are investing.
Can you name a few of these companies?
We have new funds like Inspire Ventures actually in the room. Glad to see you guys. They have some friends I know that they sold media companies to large international groups, and they are assets in the range of $10 million, and they're investing back. There are some international seed funds like I can't recall the names. A couple of international seed funds are coming in and out, finding deals. So the situation is quite good. So the last batch of the Founder Institute program that we run, 12 graduates, 4 of them already got seed funding before graduation. So that was last month.
And what's the average amount of seed funding then?
Around 50,000 US.
From internal investors or external? The people who invested, are they from Vietnam?
Angels and
from Vietnam.
micro seed funds, yes.
Okay. So for Lead Ventures, right, we are accelerator, right? You've also seen, you've groomed the companies, right? So have you seen the change of the talent pool, the quality of startups over the last few years? How has that changed?
Yeah, it's dramatically increased. You see a lot of reach out programs, grooming programs. I think you see Magic out there, and they've been spearheading a lot of technical workshops. I think technical part now, we've got ample. Malaysia has always been that hacker nation. You tell us what to build, we can freaking build it. But if you just tell them to build the next big thing, they go like, where the fuck do I start? So the idea part is the one that's lacking. So something like Founders Institute, we have a program called Alpha Startups. We're trying to groom ideas. That's the thing that's being lacking. We don't have the business acumen. Our country's always been a shut up and listen rather than a show and tell like the American styles, right? So we need to start instilling more business folks itself. And that's the next thing that we need to groom up.
So from the startup's perspective, right, what if they were to enter your country and they want to target your country's consumers? What kind of key localization factors should a business doing business think about?
For Malaysia, it's quite easy. Everyone speaks English. Pretty much it's the second thing. We might speak bad English, but we speak English. So we consume English content. We're not a country with a huge population, it's just 30 million. What we have going for us is the mobile subscriptions, right? I think we've got 143 penetration, 143%. That means we have 1.5%. So if you have big phones, I guess you could say that's 1.5%. So if you want to test out mobility, that's the place to be in. Credit card penetration it's there, but not that high. I think we're about 25%. Smartphone penetration, specifically from the 143%, is about 40%. It's a base to test out your market to see if people want to use it within Asia, but it's not necessarily a money-making market. So even our startups, we make sure that you can use it to pilot and prototype and test bed your products, but our market is still Southeast Asia. We want the 600 million population, not just the 30 million population, which is addressable, is still too small.
And are there a lot of companies addressing this Southeast Asian market? Or are they addressing, say, US or China?
Oh, it's a lot of them addressing Southeast Asia. And you find that the more foreigners are now coming into Malaysia because infrastructure, we're better than the three of you guys, that's for sure. I mean, your internet is just pure shit.
You're bluffing.
Yeah, Vietnam too.
It's terrible. I mean, even though Malaysians complain about the freaking internet, it's better than the other countries because we travel around and it's godsend.
We're glad South Korea is not here, by the way, Asia.
Yeah, exactly. So what's going for us is also the cost of labor. I know Vietnam can be even cheaper, but we can get people that can speak English too real well and for a fraction of the cost. Government's very welcome for people to come in and set up businesses itself. It's not that difficult. So it makes sense to make Malaysia an operations base. Of course, there's the neighbor next door, Singapore, but you guys are too freaking expensive.
I know.
So come to Malaysia, set up your chop shops here, but then address Southeast Asia. That is the goal.
So Paul,
So I think, Philippines, 100 million people. I call them a halfie. They're half Asian, half Western. Everyone speaks English. We speak better English than you guys, so we can claim that, right?
I'll give you that. That's why you're the call centers.
Yeah, call center capital of the world. And I really think it's in about a year and a half, we're going to have about 50 million smartphones. In the Philippines, it has the fastest growing smartphone penetration rate, I think, in Asia. And it's considered as a bridge. If you want to take an idea or a startup to America, the Philippines is a great way to test. And if you are in America and you want to go to Asia, the Philippines is a great way to test whether or not your idea will work in Asia. So I really see the Philippines as a bridge, as a gateway, sorry Singapore, to the rest of Asia.
Yeah, our two countries are way better than yours.
We'll take it offline. Yeah, Patai.
Okay, so comparing to you, we are not English-speaking countries. Okay, and our market is quite unique. 70 million populations, but for the urban populations, I can say that we have around half of the countries is urbanized, and it's 30 million, and another half is just in the rural area. So just like Indonesia, we have kind of two type of market in the same countries. So if you want to target to the city people, so Bangkok, Chiang Mai, Phuket is the base to enter the market, and the style of the consumer lifestyle is very unique. I think Thai people love easy things, they love to be fun and enjoy life. They spend more for dining, for lifestyle spending. And one of interesting thing I noticed for myself is I think Thailand entrepreneur or business in Thailand facing a lot of challenge over the past decade. So we going up and down so the Thai business learned to adapt the technology. So the enterprise startup market is the new big things for Thailand market in a couple of years, because we use the software to enable our business to be survive during the crisis, during the many challenge. So we are looking for SaaS, software as a service, or the mobile app that help productivities. Yeah, the coming thing, not only the lifestyle startups.
We're going to pick up on the enterprise part later, but let's go to Vietnam first for Tuan.
We are the only country beside Singapore that has a billion-dollar startup. So it's VNG in Vietnam and Garena in Singapore.
Okay,
We're bigger than you.
You win. Yeah.
We
in
have
Singapore, technically, we also have Razer.
Razer, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so 3 now in the region. Our people, they don't speak as good English, but we're teaching them online. So our people are going to speak better English than you in 5 years. And we're teaching the Thais.
Have
so
you
we
fixed
speak
your
better than
internet
you.
yet?
I'm sorry?
Is your internet all right?
Our internet is awesome. Yeah.
That's
So
what they all
actually,
say.
Cable just been cut down recently.
Actually, there's been VNG is a game company. They started 10 years ago. So I think personally, I think it's because of them. Every village now have broadband because everyone was playing online MMORPGs 10 years ago. Smartphone penetration is 30 plus. Phone is 100 plus, 100% plus. And actually, we're looking at a second generation of startups now. We have a lot of people who made not so big exits, but they have cash to reinvest. So I think it's a great situation. The only thing we have is the government. Yeah, that's the only problem we have. Yeah.
So now going into the enterprise startups, what kind of startups do you see in your respective countries? Do you see more B2B or B2C?
On your Facebook feeds, you'll see a lot of B2C. But honestly, at the back, we're a big B2B guy itself. If you look into the true numbers in e-commerce within Malaysia itself, 70% of the e-commerce numbers are actually from B2B rather than B2C. The government's trying to push the B2C itself, the new Malaysian plan for the year 2016 to 2020. You're going to see new programs come in to really ramp up the B2C side, trying to get more Malaysian products out in the market online. But predominantly, we're still a lot of enterprisey. That's where the cash is. But the sexy startups is the stuff that you read on your news portal and our Facebook feeds are typical B2C. But it's a very small.
We try to publish B2B. We try, yeah.
It's not sexy, right? So nobody wants to read about it. It's quite boring. But the true money is actually in B2B.
Yeah, I agree. I think, Caliber is B2B2C. M-Clinica, mobile health platform, that's B2B. Payroll Hero, payroll software, that's B2B. Storm, which is a startup that you guys are all going to hear about next year, another B2B platform. And I think that's just the reality of Southeast Asia. You have to have a business model built in because you can't live the Silicon Valley dream here and just think that you can build something without any business model, without any revenue, and expect to continue to get funding. So I think the mindset is different here because of the funding environment that's here.
I also think it's because of the consumer market. The consumer markets here in Southeast Asia are not homogeneous, again, to the point earlier. So, yeah, anything to add, Paul?
Yeah, and I mean, in the Philippines, there's only 3 million credit cards out of a population of 100 million people. So the consumer market is very finicky. Though in the Philippines, the emerging middle class it's growing quite rapidly, primarily driven by the outsourcing industry, and it's not just call centers going there. It's Uber setting up a global operations center there. Every day I get an email from a Silicon Valley company that wants to go to Manila to grow their operations there. And that's going to be a pool of people that you should try to monetize in the very near future.
I think one reason is there's not enough new money in the region. All the money that's coming from very traditional businesses, so they like to take safe bets, especially in Malaysia. So if a bigger corporate wants to invest in something, they'll either want to take 51%, or they say that, I'll give you enough money, I'll take a small scope, but you can't sell to my competitors. So you still have that kind of mindset there that is daunting on startups, so they still prefer traditional business models.
Agree. Yes.
Tuan, how about B2C and B2B?
B2B is a little harder to cope with in Vietnam because of lack of transparency. So people buy your product not because of it's good, but because you have relationships. So most people still focus on B2C, which is to me is perfectly fine. So it's very exciting to see the intense competition in many industries.
Yeah, I mean VNG is B2C.
Yes, VNG B2C.
Okay. So now our closing question. For your respective markets, what are the biggest opportunities moving forward? Anyone can start. Paul, sure.
Someone should build a Tokopedia in the Philippines. There's no marketplace there, and it seems like marketplace is like one of the first internet models that kind of blow up in the market, and it's kind of shocking that there is no marketplace business there. Multiply was there before, but they couldn't monetize properly, and the platform just wasn't that good. So I think the number one opportunity is for someone to build a Tokopedia in the Philippines.
Malaysia, one of the daunting tasks of everyone is having a payment gateway. We've just got one damn bugger who has been controlling this for the longest time. It's the shittiest experience, I will say it in public. Now MOL came on board, which is brand new, too new. Payment is still a big thing for us itself. Online ticketing, reservations. Surprisingly, I still have not found the foodie app for Malaysia itself. Malaysia's always been known for the great eatery places itself, but still there's no go-to-one app itself. Everyone still searches for blogs. It's always been something that I thought would come into place, but even Hungry Go Where doesn't cut it.
Yelp in Malaysia?
No, there's no Yelp in Malaysia, but Zomato is coming in, so maybe that will change. But for me, I think payment needs to be disrupted. That's one of the biggest things itself.
So for Thailand, it should be the marketplace, because we have the country is on the mainland. The logistic is good, and it's easier to distribute the goods anywhere in the country. So we have single land, and so like e-commerce you will hear tomorrow is one of the success case, and I still believe that the marketplace is still growing, and commerce is still growing. Yep.
Vietnam used to be payment and distribution, last mile distribution, but I'm very excited about a new startup that is solving both problems now. It's GHN. So they found one of the co-founder was a veteran entrepreneur. He sold his previous mobile distribution business for hundreds of millions. So they've been going very aggressive. Just over 1 year, they present in 64 provinces. They're charging $1.5 for delivery and collection, so cash on delivery. So it's solving both problems at the same time. And there are many competitors coming up as well, so I think it's going to be solved very fast.
Yeah, so we mentioned like logistics is okay in Thailand, sort of, there's payment problems still. So you can see Southeast Asia, there are certain similarities and quite a lot of differences as well. So yeah, so thank you, and that's all for our panel. Hopefully you got a better understanding of all the 4 markets here. Thank you very much.